Hello, everyone. I hope that you're doing well. Today, I'm going to be speaking with Paul, who's one of my older students. I'm very excited to speak to him. How are you doing, Paul?
I'm doing great. I'm
I'm gl-
doing great.
I'm glad to hear that, man. I can see that the background is also very nice.
Well, in all fairness, this is, matrix technology behind me,
Yeah,
but the beach is just a short block away. So just
that's
came back from a nice sunrise stroll, and so glad to be with you. Glad to
that's
be.
amazing to hear, man, Paul. Could you share a bit about your background? How old are you? Where are you from?
Yeah. So I am about to turn 60 years old here in October, and I'm from the Midwest and basically had a great childhood, son of a preacher man. Which, by the way, before we get too far into this, want to give all thanks, praise, and glory to the Lord of all creation for all he's done, all he's doing, and all he's yet to do. Um, so, yeah, had a great childhood, got multiple siblings, four of them, and pursued music most of my childhood into my mid 20s, and then I met the love of my life and married, got three adult children, all strong, smart, independent, much like you. um, so yeah, I started. I worked as kind of a mom and pop insurance agent in finance for a large company for nearly 2 decades. And in 2007, 2008, I went to a seminar on options. And I walked out of there kind of saying, why am I, not doing this? I'm smart. I'm into business. And that started the journey for me. And um, what I failed to realize at the time was if it was easy, everybody'd be doing it is kind of the cliche, right? But being in the finance world, typically you're more of an asset gatherer, right? You're collecting people's money, you're throwing them into some type of a diversified long-term portfolio. So you're talking about not really actively trading, but rather looking for long-term returns, which over history have, averaged 10, 11% if you didn't touch it. But so anyway, I got a lot of lessons quick about trading, and pursued that pretty heavily, and on and off. I've always had a really active life. I've always pursued whatever I wanted to do. So my pursuit to get on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine as a younger man turned into realizing that God gave me my gifts musically, as humble as they are and limited as they can be, um, for His glory, not for mine. So I help lead worship at church, and raising a family is taxing, and having a career. And then I'm kind of a social butterfly too. At least I was much more back in the day. I cut out some of those extracurricular activities that were actually kind of holding me back. And So anyway, I don't know if you have any specific questions, but my wife and I moved down to Florida 4 years ago, really, because I'm an avid scuba diver, and I don't know if you can see it, but Pura Vida Divers here on
I love
Singer
that.
Island in Southeast Florida. I'm one of the staff instructors there. Scuba diving's been a passion of mine since we went on our honeymoon in 1992. And so we kind of had a window of time where the kids were adulting. And so we decided to just jump ship. And we moved down here thinking we'd just sneak in a year or two to fulfill kind of some life bucket list items, living the salt life, working in the dive industry. And, as always, God has more blessings in store for us than we planned. And I play drums and lead worship at a mega church down here called Christ Fellowship, and it's and the dive shop Pura Vida. I mean, they're a 5-star Hattie career development center. I mean, they're literally King Kong in this epic world-class diving destination. So I live on the beach, and I'm just, you're looking at one of the most blessed men on planet Earth.
Who's
And
also getting into trading significantly.
yeah, and really,
Damn.
the reason to revisit trading for me was, the pursuits that I have, the passion for leading worship and for scuba diving. Unless you put everything you have into those areas, you're not really going to do it for the money. You're doing it for the love of it, for the passion of it. So, to get back into trading was really more of a means to an end. When I was younger, the motivation was more worldly, um, largely worldly. And now, I see things through a different lens, pardon the pun. And I think, we talk a lot about, time, then price. And one of the epiphanies that I've had recently is it's really time, then fill in the blank, right? A lot of the information that we have access to and that we've all seen or read or heard over our lives, it may have resonated at the time, it may have spoken to us, but it's so easy, at least for me, to kind of like put that off to the side in a short period of time without fully implementing it. And so the time is just right from a health perspective. I've decided I can no longer put certain things off. Tomorrow is not promised, and if it's going to come for us, we need to do the right things in today to have a better tomorrow, not just monetarily, but physically. I plan to live to 100+ years old, which means I'm only about 60% of the way there, where a lot of people could be thinking, wow, you're getting old. And it's like, really? I feel like I've just gotten a whole new bill of life, and so
I love that, Paul, about you as well, because you just indeed like said the most important thing. You're about to turn 60. So many people that are your age would literally just throw in the towel. They would be like, okay, what I've done up until my life, it's everything I'm going to do. Now it's done. I'm looking at a fresh man here. I'm looking at a man with a lot of energy and a lot of passion. And that's
yeah.
honestly phenomenal to see.
Well, with our health, we take it for granted. And when we're younger, we can kind of get away with things. When you get a little bit older, just our pathetic American diet, catches up to you. And as miraculous as our bodies are, thank God for that creation, it starts to tear down after a while, what we're eating and drinking and whether we're sleeping and exercising. And so I have visions of my older grandparents, in the room, in the corner of the room, heavy, using a walker, maybe on oxygen. And, people are always like, hey, grandma, can I get you something to drink? Can I bring you something to eat while everyone's feasting? And I want to be present in the room.
Yeah.
I want to be active and participating. So I made changes. I mean, when you and I first met, just a few short months ago, I mean, I was a bigger boy, and I had high blood sugar. And so praise God that just implementing a few things each day, one simple thing in each area of life. I mean, there's only like 7 areas of our lives, right? We got our health, we got our happiness, relationships, personal development, we got finances, our careers, and whatever impact we're going to have on the world. right? I mean, that kind of boils it all down into 7 categories. Pick one thing in each category that you could do every day, like brushing your teeth. Just that simple. And do it every day. And then you just are leveraging the greatest asset that we have, which is time. There it is again, time. So anyway, I praise God. I've seen, some really miraculous results in a fairly short period of time. And unless the good Lord has other plans for me, I intend to be a pain in the neck for a lot of people for many, many years to come.
I love to hear that, man. Honestly, Paul, you're right now indeed such a different person than when we first met. You
Oh,
already had the great mood, the great energy around you. But what you mentioned indeed is that when we first encountered, you were very out of shape in that sense. You felt
mhm.
slow. And I'm curious, what was for you the motivation to say, I'm going to like really look in on diet, making sure to take care of your health? Was it a result of you seeing how that affected your training as well?
Well, that was definitely a benefit. And at the same time, like I mentioned, we have access to information. I mean, everybody knows a lot of what we're putting in our bodies is just processed. It's toxic.
Mhm.
And so I have, in other seasons of my life, been on, I don't want to say a health kick, but been aware and seen results. And the catalyst for me was really just the fact that I was getting older, and chronic disease is kind of self-inflicted in a lot of ways. And there's some history in our family, cancers, right? Alzheimer's, and other things that I just wanted to at least do what I could do to prevent those things from happening to me, and kick that can down the road as far as I can. And as far as trading goes, I knew that I was going to need to have all of my mental capacities to be able to focus. And I mean, brother, I mean, you and Jamie, when we first met, I could barely turn on a computer, let alone, navigate charts. And you guys were just so patient with me. I listen back to our one-on-one calls, and it's so painful I mean, the periods of time where I'm like even just now, it took me a hot minute to turn on the video. And that's not my gift, but um, I, I, I realized I don't have to know everything. I don't have to be a jack of all trades, right? I need to master a couple of things, at least as a starting point. And from there, I can add, build, and develop. I mean, we're never going to stop growing. And the things that I've seen now and experienced, I've moved from, being hopeful and seeing some promise to realizing through visualization and having a strong faith to where um, I see what is possible. My future is inevitable. I mean, it's not just hope anymore. And
You're seeing the results week
well,
in, week out.
I am, and consistency. I mean, I'm just turning the corner right now. I mean, you guys, TMU, I mean, is turning out to be like an army. You guys are building an army of of people who see the truth and act on the truth, and are not swayed by much of which we are often influenced by. And when I look back, I see that almost all of my trading in the past, I have been the liquidity for other people to have successful trades. And so just shifting the mindset a little bit has really, I had to unplug, bro. I mean, when you realize that your brain is the most powerful computer known to man. I mean, they couldn't even replicate it if they wanted to, and the resources needed to attempt it would be, overwhelming in terms of size, in terms of the power that they would need to generate that. And not only do we all have that right, in our skull, we are the driver of the computer. So I look at my brain now more like it's a broadcasting system, and I have to control the channels of information that I'm going to allow into my head. So I do some things that, I used to think were corny, but, when I wake up in the morning, I give thanks to God for another day. I read some scripture, do some devotions, but then I'm visualizing, and I don't visualize only in my mind. I'm looking at, I print out my trades, and only the successful ones, right or wrong. I only want to focus on what worked. I know what didn't work. I feel it in my bones when it doesn't work.
And when it doesn't work, is that the result of the protocol failing, or is it the result of the operator, which is you failing?
Well, it's definitely the operator. I mean, there have been times where, the market has done things that, have taken me out of trades. But, you start to realize that it's doing its job. It's sweeping the deck. And so, I'm learning slowly. I learn things the hard way, the painful way. So I don't recommend some of my methodologies. I'm surrounded by, in our room in TMU, I mean, the amount of raw talent and, the success that people are seeing is really unparalleled to anything I've ever been a part of. And, there's one consistent theme that runs through that body of people, and that's that no really is not an option. Failure is not something that is even thought of. Everybody truly knows that they're going to get where they're going to get. It's just a matter of time, right?
There it is again.
Some people jump on it right away, and it used to intimidate me, and it used to make me feel a little insecure, like what's wrong with me, and that's one of the stations that I changed in my brain, because I'm me, and I really don't need to compare myself to anybody. I'm not inferior to anybody, and I'm not superior to anybody.
You're just Paul.
Yeah, some people have gifts that I won't have, and I've got gifts that other people won't have. The key to where I'm at right now is to focus on my true self. Who am I? How do I operate? How do I learn? And because at the end of the day, we're all competing against ourselves in whatever it is we're doing, right? And when you look in the mirror, if you didn't have a good day for whatever reason, for whatever pursuits you're after, there's not really, I mean, there's a list of things we can blame, but the only thing really that can be held accountable is the person that's looking in the mirror.
I think that's one of the most beautiful things I'm hearing from you, Paul, indeed, is the responsibility that you take for every single thing in your life, whether it be health, whether it be your relationships with your family members or friends, whether it be your trading journey. Everything comes back to the self. And that right there is why you've developed so quickly over these past couple of months, because you realized, hey, instead of you blaming something else outside of you, you always found a way to look at yourself and say, hey, I could have done this different. But what's interesting, Paul, as well, is that I remember our first call together, you showed me your charts, and I was like, what are you looking for? You mentioned that you were trading based on indicators in the past. You've literally done everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, options were a big thing as well. And I've lived a charmed life, and I've been, in the upper percentile, which means above 50%. And this is just how I view it in my simple mind. In anything that I ever did, whether it was drumming, whether it was sales, in finance, whatever it is. And if you're in the top 50%, that means when you're measuring yourself around, the people in your world, you're going to be very well off. You're going to be heads and shoulders above most people that you're surrounded with. And so I've been naturally talented in that way. And so I just assumed with trading that I would have the same kind of success. And that's just not the way it works. First of all, you're not in your small circle of friends. You're in the largest casino known to man. And so anyway, yeah, it's you can't just throw darts at a dartboard, or you're going to get smoked. And because that's the way the game is played. So I've just taken things. I mean, I don't have to catch the bottom of a move. I have the luxury now of waiting to get confirmation, and confirmation for me may be later than where it is for other people. But once I know that the price is going to be drawn to a certain level, it gives me the luxury to be able to position myself in that trade. And one of the shortcomings that I've always had is I want to be there first, and it's not so much missing out. It was more based on greed. I want what I want, and I want it all. And that kind of that kind of consumption, that it's gluttonous, it's a lack of discipline, and it's a lack of belief that you need. Sometimes less is more. I had a pastor friend of mine and a mentor say to me once, how do you feel about structure, Paul? And I've always been kind of an unorthodox person in terms of how I think, how I dress, how I talk, how I live my life. I've always just kind of done my own thing. And the word structure was like, I just picture a cubicle in an office where I'm trapped, And I was like, I don't want any structure. I want to be me. And he said, well, what if I told you that, with having some structure, you would actually be freer to do what you want to do? And that was a big light bulb moment for me. And that's one of the big things that, I've gotten from you and Jamie, and from the content that is, readily available to all of us here in TMU, is just the protocol that we have, the track that we have to run on. So when things don't work for me in a trade, it's because of me, the operator. It's not because of the protocol.
Because the protocol is perfect, isn't it?
Well, the protocol is perfect, especially for people who are, wanting to be successful and build consistency. It's kind of like the training wheels for, it's a major building block. And you can take this protocol, and it could be the only thing that you ever use. And you're going to be able to use that in the way that you are, right? The way your personality is, the way your risk levels are. But I don't know. I mean, I give thanks to God every day. I remember at our first call, I told you, I said, I am going to be one of your, poster children for success. That yes, you can teach an old dog new tricks. And it may sound negative when I say that, but I'm proud of the fact that, you know, I mean, I have like, I can't hold, you're not going to see them, but I'm old school. I got like reams, 3-ring binders. I print everything off. You know, everyone else is pulling this stuff up on their phones or tablets. And, you know, I need to print it off. I need to touch it. I need to feel it. I need to smell the ink. I need to be able to bring it with me and flip through it wherever I'm at if I want to. And that's why I print my trades so I can see it. Those aren't your trades, they're my trades, right? Now, what's cool is that in our room, everybody's trades look very, very similar. And it's so wonderful to see that.
It must be random, right, Paul?
Yeah, it's random. It's random
I
for
think
sure.
that's
Look,
also the most beautiful thing about what we've created in TMU is that it's not a signal service. We're not telling you to buy or sell. We're not telling you to go out here and go long on Nasdaq right now. Like you were speaking about yesterday, for example, which was the 12th of August, of course, where we both bottom ticked Nasdaq. We both bought that low right there of the regular trading hours. And
that's
that right there is happening without us speaking. We're not like saying to each other, oh, we're going to go long now, but it's still happening. Why? Because we have the same objective approach to time and price.
exactly.
Have you ever
Exactly.
seen anything like this over your trading career?
Never, 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 never. And you know, I mean, the things that we do are, you know, I view TMU, which is the Matrix Unlocked. I know we're big on acronyms. I view TMU much like I view Pura Vida divers. You know, I mean, it's just like they're like King Kong, right? TMU is King Kong. There's no real competition to what's happening there. Now, that doesn't mean that there's only one way to trade. People can find success. But you know, there's really, in my mind, just a kind of a handful of traders, right? I mean, you're either just starting out and you've realized you need some help, or you've been trading a while and you have not found success. In fact, you found the opposite. And so you're trying to right the ship. And then I think there's a large group of people, probably more in this group than any, and those are the people who've just quit, right? They realize this isn't for them. They can't afford to trade. And you know,
What would your advice be to people that might be listening to our conversation now, that might feel like they're at rock bottom, that they might feel like that everything is just crumbling down on them? What would you suggest those people to do?
well, first of all, you know, God through his son Jesus, you know, every day makes all things new. So no matter where we are in life, you know, you've been given another day. That means you've got a fresh start in whatever it is you want to do. You know, many people listening probably don't even know who Paul Stanley is. Paul Stanley is the lead singer and the guitar player in Kiss. And when I was young, I heard him in an interview say, hey, the only people who are ever going to tell you that you can't do something are those who have already either quit or failed, right? I mean, nobody who's successful is going to tell you you can't do something. And so the thing about TMU is it's not just cheerleading sessions, because as motivating as that can be at times, especially in the beginning when we're all kind of smoking hopium, it pales to what is necessary to push through the learning curves that are necessary, not just in trading. When you get down to it, the trading is really the easy part. It's how we think, how we behave, and that's what frees us to do and act on a protocol that's step by step. I mean, it's kind of childproof almost if you follow it. And that doesn't mean there's not nuances to what you can do and build on. I mean, the trading methodology that we have can be used to trade, multiple trading vehicles and the derivatives of those vehicles, different styles of trading, whether it's short-term trading or long-term or swing. There's no limits to the, most people I think are drawn to day trading because they want that immediate gratification.
They want it quick. They want it now. It's the impatience, of course.
That's right. And
the thing is, Paul, the reason why that is possible, that indeed our trading style is applicable to all different styles of trading, is because it's the same objective logic of both time as price cycles. It's just on a different size. That's it.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And the thing is, you don't have to just choose one.
No.
You can do it all. And that's part of what I've had to come to grips with is I don't need to absorb every piece of information up front. Back in the finance world, new people, we would call it paralysis through analysis, right? I mean, there's so many products, so many, things that you have to know to be able to sit in front of somebody and act like, you're the professional. And a lot of people just couldn't get past that. And I found myself limiting my progress because, there is a lot to know, but at the same time, you don't need to know it all now. You don't have to. And I'm one of those people that when I put my key in the ignition of my car and I turn it, I just want the thing to start. I don't care about all of the brilliant technology and craftsmanship that went into designing that and making it happen for me. I just want it to happen. And so I've been able to free myself from the need to keep up with some of the people in our room, whom are very analytical. They want to know everything. And boy, I'll tell you, I applaud them and I encourage them. And I would never do anything to tell somebody not to investigate and to come to their own understanding of the why. I just want a track to run on for myself that works. And then I will continue to build on that as I go. And I have layered things in, but I've had to pull some things out as well because they limit me. And what I need right now is I need those wins. I need to be able to have a win that I can own, that I can look at and realize, wow, only other people took trades like this before. This is mine. I printed it off. I hold it in my hand. I see the levels. I see my entrances. I see my exits. And I don't have to worry about, hey, this thing moved, 50 points out of the gate before I even, participated, because enough is enough. And if I want more, I don't have to catch more of a move. I just need to add to my position size, which will
and pyramids. That's something I'm of course very big on.
That's right.
I'm
That's
very
exactly
happy to hear, Paul, that you've made that your own as well, because pyramiding is indeed one of the things that a lot of new traders don't understand, but it's actually the missing piece to capitalize as much as possible when you're right.
Well, once you know that you're moving with price, then why wouldn't you? It allows you to minimize your risk at the low risk entry and then begin to layer in additional positions. Even the last interview that you did, that was a question that he had. He was perplexed. Why would you add to a winning position as it's already moved away from your entry?
Yeah.
And that's another one of those aha moments, right?
Light bulb moments indeed.
Because while I am entering at a higher price if I'm long, or at a lower price if I'm short, the logical assumption would be, well, I'm not getting as good of a fill. But in theory, technically, you have less risk because now you're surfing the wave. You're not trying to catch a wave. You're on
Just,
the board.
just like the waves behind you, Paul.
Yeah, right?
Honestly, Paul, I'm actually very amazed and impressed by how quick you have turned into the trader that you are today. Because when we started, you had so much prior information that you just like you weren't able to see the charts anymore. You were poisoned by all of that information. So I'm curious about, how did you learn all of those bad habits that were developed over your wide career?
Almost the same way that I, cut out Big Macs and chocolate shakes, right? I mean, you have to, you know, you have to be honest with yourself. And, to me, humility is everything. And it's hard to stay humble when you're kind of moving in the right direction and everything is clicking, but it's not hard to be reminded of the things that in your life that don't work. You gotta cut them loose, or you gotta put them away. I mean, I think of all the positive things that I've been exposed to that I put on the shelf because I'll get to them later. And so in my mind, I've taken a lot of these bad habits is what they are, and just gotten rid of them. And they're always there. They creep back in at times. But what doesn't work? Why would I keep doing something that? And that's where you kind of just you fall to your knees and you're like, when we say the Lord's Prayer, right? It talks about, delivering us from evil, but remove me from temptation, right?
That's it.
Temptation comes in so many ways, right? You're tempted to jump in a trade. So I want to control my decisions and my thought process, because every one of those decisions, whether it's trading, or whether it's my language, or what I'm eating, or what I'm drinking, my thoughts, those become decisions, and you just need to stack the decisions. That's what I've done. And so when I do something that I'll just call it stupid, especially on the charts, I have to just ask myself, why are you better? Why do you think you're bulletproof and immune to this? You're just made of flesh, blood, and bones like everybody else. So be better. You are better, Paul. Don't do that. You've already learned these lessons.
And people are counting on you. I think that's for you a major one. I
That's
remember
right.
when I asked you, when we first had our first meeting together, or first call, I asked you what's your why, and you said that you want to provide for your family. You got a big family. You're a grandfather as well, correct?
Coming up soon.
Exactly.
I always thought that when I got to this point in life, that things would be more on autopilot, that my need to provide would have been diminished greatly. And the world that we live in now is not just more complex at times. I mean, it can be as complex as we let it overwhelm us, right? But it is costly. That's not an illusion. It's expensive to be here on this earth and live in even a modest means. So our adult children, and our growing family are going to have financial needs beyond me and my wife Tina just providing for ourselves, and they're all able to do that for themselves, and I don't want to do anything to rein in their independence, but there are big ticket items that come up in life, and I want to have the ability to bless my family and help them through some of these times. And if I'm going to live another 40, 50 years, I can only imagine what the cost of living is going to be as I continue to age. And, you know, it's wonderful to be a survivor. But you don't want to outlive your means, right? And so nobody is, you know, is immune to the reality that the cost of living is going to continue to skyrocket, and some of the necessities of life are included in that. There's a difference between luxuries and just necessities. I mean, you can't buy a used car over here right now that's, you know, less than $20,000. And I mean, that's not small money if you're a school teacher like my daughter, you know. And the last thing I want her to do is give up on her passion to fulfill her life goals and make a difference in the world. My other daughter's, you know, in nursing school. And, you know, my son's a teacher. So anyway, the need to provide it never goes away. To be a parent never goes away. To be a grandparent is the next level, right? And then great grandparent. So anyway, yes, that's a strong motivation for me, is to do it now. And the
Don't
time,
delay anything.
there's no more time to waste on. I mean, I already have to deal with and work around who I am, and I'm thankful for who I am. But I have a little bit of a slower learning curve when it comes to some of these things, and that's why I had to strip away the everything and focus on the something,
Yes.
the most important thing right now.
And is that honestly, Paul, where TMU was for you, like, okay, this it, nothing else matters? Like I told you up straight, if you remember, don't watch anything online. Don't go online and watch, you know, other people their YouTube videos or blog posts or whatever. Just focus on this. Is that something you did?
Yeah, it is. And I did it in kind of dribs and drabs because I've always lived my life like I want to turn over every stone and see if there's something there, right? And oftentimes, you know, in pursuit of some nugget that may have been overlooked. And that's how I ran across you. But it is a major distraction. So even within our own community, we have to limit the time where we're going to be, you know, participating in the chats and so forth. So
Stay
I have
focused on your
eliminated,
own mission always. That's the
yeah,
most
I've
important.
eliminated everything, Frank. I have literally cut out, you know, if people want to reach me, they've got my email, they've got my phone number. And I don't spend any time on social media at all. And you know, all of these things, while they're recreational, we tend to take these things that can be beneficial. I know I'm speaking to myself. I'm always speaking to the choir here. But I turn things that are enjoyable in the moment, and I turn them into like a recreational sport. You know what I mean? I indulge. And so for me, I kind of have had to just eliminate those things because you get too much conflicting information. And as I've come to realize, and most of us know, you know, there's not probably any person who really has the truth of what goes on behind closed doors within our government, right? In politics, in religion. You know, man has, you know, literally prostituted just about everything for his own gain, right? Because there's only one thing that a man or a woman with power wants, and that's more power. So, you know, we're never going to really know the truth. We're only going to know what they tell us or what they want us to know.
But
And
we can recognize the footprints.
That's right. That's right. And the same thing is true with if we just say food. I mean, we know there's a truth about the processing of food, and we know why they do it originally, right? They want to create more and feed more people, and it's so fast, it tastes so good, it's inexpensive. At the same time, most people, unless they're living under a rock or in a cave, they know that these foods are not good for them. And there's no laws against consuming healthy foods. Does it cost more up front? Is it less convenient? Yeah, but in the long run, it's much less expensive when you factor in quality of life and health care and prescription drugs, and your taste buds. I mean, God created our bodies to enjoy these natural foods. But that's just one example of how, marketing and media and corporations have a way of steering us almost like cattle walking to and from pasture every day. People who swing through Starbucks, and God love you, all right, I don't have anything against a good cup of coffee, but I like the one that I can make in my house that costs me, 15 to 20 cents versus paying $3, $5 for the one in the fancy cup, right? So, but some people can't function throughout a day without driving through a Starbucks, right? And that's
They're
not just
addicted.
because that's what you do, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what we do. We hit Starbucks.
I'm curious,
So,
Paul, if you had to give like one piece of advice over your very wide trading journey and career, yes, what would it be? What has been the main lesson which you have learned?
well, it's hard to break it down to the main lesson, but it,
You can name a few. No
yeah,
worries.
I think one of the biggest things is, you have to be honest with yourself. Like the other things that were marketed, trading is one of those. And everybody wants the outcome of being a trader, or even an investor. But you're largely being marketed on the end result and the carrot, so to speak, versus what it really takes to do that. So you've got to open your eyes to realize anything in life that's worth pursuing and realizing your outcomes, whatever that outcome is, that's different for everybody. But you have to be honest with yourself about that, and that means there's going to be some work, and you're gonna hit your head up against the wall a few times, and you're going to need to push through that and not quit. But I believe, we can do all things through Christ whom strengthens us. And it's just a matter of stepping back and reflecting for just a short moment on what you would do differently, and let your brain categorize that. It's like a navigation system, right? It's going to redirect. It's going to take that information and it's going to get you to where you're going if you focus on the target. So there's that piece. Realize what you're getting into, and that doesn't mean don't do it. It just means have true and realistic expectations, and don't be influenced by the influencers and by other people, because we all have to walk our own walk, and we're going to get to where we're going. We're going to get to different destinations because we all have different destinations, and we're going to get there in different ways because we all travel a different path
And at different times.
and at different times.
There it comes
And
back, time.
truthfully, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I'm going to be the first to say that I'm just getting started, right? I mean, I'm just turning the corner. And my journey began in 2007. And it has been painful at times. And so only people who are going to tell you you can't do it are people who have failed And the people who are going to tell you that it's easy are the people who are trying to get something from you in the process. And it doesn't mean that information isn't costly, that support isn't costly. But what is a cost? I mean, a cost is an investment. And does the investment to be part of TMU, for example, does that have to be the end all be all final investment that you make? No. But if it's a catalyst, if it's a foundational building block to let you turn off all the bad information, focus in on one thing. We've all experienced success in something in our lives when we applied ourselves to it. And maybe it was only for a short time. And then we plateaued and we kind of went back to our ways. But we know we can do whatever we set our minds to doing. So those are two of the big things right there. And
Well, I have a question, Paul.
yeah,
Would you wish that TMU existed in 2007 or 2008 when you started?
well, I want to say yes. At the same time, TMU would not have been what it is today if it was there in 2007. So once again, time meets
Right.
X, right?
Exactly.
So TMU is not the same as it was when I joined months ago. And I look at, the continuous rollout of new content. And I don't even have to say to myself, man, I wish I had access to this when I started, which is what I did at first. When the TMU new platform came out with the new educational videos for people who are coming on board now, I thought, man, if I had this when I started, and then I had to stop myself because I don't have to worry about that because I have it now. I have access to what we had then. I have access to what we have now. But it's continuously progressing. Anything worthwhile in this world, in my experience, is going to continuously progress
And keep on
refine.
raising the bar, always. Keep on moving
And
forward.
through the natural progression of pursuing excellence, not necessarily just out of the need for more. But as you grow, you realize there are things you can do that you're doing, you can do them better, more efficiently. You realize there are things you can do now you couldn't do before or even think of doing. A 15-second chart, bro, I would have laughed. I would have laughed at somebody who said, I'm going to be trading. Well, when I first met you and you guys are using, 1 minute, 15-second, 5-second, I was like, yeah, no, that's not, I won't be doing that. But then you realize it's not any different than a 1 minute or a 5 minute or a 10 minute or an hour or a 4
It's
hour.
always the same.
You can see what's happening. It's just like a magnifying glass a little bit, right? You can just anyway. It's everything's always evolving, and I've always wanted to be, part of something bigger than myself, and that's always been challenging because I've walked through most of my life kind of playing big fish in the little pond, right? Because I was in that upper percentile. I was always, I could feel bigger about myself, better about myself because I could look around me. And I know now that some of those people in my life, some of those circumstances in my life were there to make me feel better about myself, to make me feel more successful than I am, to allow me permission to not be my best because what I was naturally good at was enough. And that's a lie. That is a lie I've been telling myself. So I can say that if I had not found TMU, I would most likely still just be wallowing around with a major life goal and accomplishment that would have been unfulfilled. And it would have been something that, in my old days, in my final days, on the front porch in the rocking chair, right, with the little blanket wrapped around my shoulders, I would have had a regret. And I don't want any regrets. And if I can do this, anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. I mean, I've been like literally doing this with like one hand tied behind my back, you know, because of the technology curve. I mean, most of the younger generation that are participating in trading and getting involved now, you know, they've grown up with this technology. And, you know, to anyone who's in midlife, to anyone who's, you know, retiring, to senior citizens, I am your poster child. You can do this. If you need to supplement income, if you need to replace income, if you just need something to keep your brain stimulated to stay active, other than playing cards with the other senior citizens, whatever it is, you know, trading it's like a life mission, because through success in trading, I have found myself, and I like what I've found. And I'm excited about each day because of what I have yet to see. And so I would encourage people, you know, to get involved just because of the awakening that you will have.
And
Because
seeing the world and markets for what they truly are, isn't it,
it
Paul?
spills into every aspect of life. I mean, that's why they talk about trading as, you know, self-development in a lot of ways. There's so many parallels to trading that are applicable to anything we're going to do in our day, in our lives, in our careers. And so yet, it's, for me anyway, been the most challenging. And I give thanks to God for all his blessings, and, you know, you and Jamie and all of your team and all of the members of TMU, and the content and the collaboration I give through you guys. You know, God's glory is being seen, and hopefully, you know, through my success, I'll, you know, potentially have a platform to continue to reflect some of God's glory as well, because really and truly that's what matters most in this world, right?
I
In
was going to
this
say,
world.
in this world, indeed.
Yeah.
And in the hereafter, you will be blessed. As a
Amen.
result. Amen.
Well, and
Indeed.
a heavy price was paid for that
Of
as
course.
well, you know? So, but to be able to truly walk free, to be able to be bathed in grace, and to know that we have the gift of eternal life, we're already wealthy, right? We're already wealthy just knowing that. So sprinkle some success in our lives that allow us to enjoy some of the worldly blessings, and to be able to help other people. There's a lot of people that need help, you know, and that's one of my motivations. Is it's so easy to live in a life where you're thinking in a way of scarcity. And you know, give us this day our daily bread. That's what this is about. Let's be able to help other people
Make an
through
impact.
us, you know, get their daily bread, not just the word of God, but they need to eat, they need to drink, they need shelter, they need clothing, they need health care, they need help. Those around us are loved ones and total strangers. Wouldn't it be nice to just be able to truly do random acts of kindness, you know, because you want to and because you can, and do it in a significant way?
I think, Paul, that's a phenomenal way to end our conversation. I think the amount of gems that you have shared, not just about trading, forget trading for a moment, but how to live your life, actually, man, especially for the younger viewers watching this interview, man, I think you literally gave the full blueprint on how to actually live your life to the most fulfilling way possible, and how to actually live a life that has meaning to it, instead of just being stuck in the matrix as it has been created. Honestly, thank you, Paul.